This conference will now be recorded.
So this would be like bridge? Like a bridge?
Come, what, Saturday, we take these things off. It's exciting. It is exciting. I mean, I won't be able to.
I just don't know where my house is. Can you find my house?
Your house isn't on there.
Where, but I should be, is this the full road? This section?
Yeah, but you're way down this way farther.
But the road is right next to my house, right next to the park.
Yeah, but this isn't.
Greg, go bathroom?
Just as a reminder,
Street?
I'll miss the next one. I'm
Right.
leaving this Friday for 2 weeks, so good for you.
This is the 7th Street extension to Patterson Road.
That's clear.
This is the one coming off of Valley.
Now, industrial park.
The emails for work.
This is the one coming off of Valley.
Looking at some things.
It's not showing your end. Your end would be on Holstrom's.
Thank you. Okay, I'm like, I don't see how this makes any sense on what
No,
this looks like.
your end would be on Holstrom's end.
Okay.
This is the greenhouse area
Okay, when you're ready.
on here.
Okay.
Wait for Greg. Yeah.
We can,
That's what I thought we were looking.
Greg's in the restroom, everybody. We'll just wait a few minutes.
That's not the Holstrom one.
Okay, so
That's
I'm
the
completely
That's
confused.
the 7th Street extension one.
So what is the Holstrom's one being called? Is 7th Street?
No, it's Holstrom's. It's the Holstrom's plat. Pull your thing back up.
This one? Or the medium? The
Right here,
East
Shirley
Charlie
Heights.
So that other 7th Street one is Patterson.
Right.
Okay, that's right. Okay. Yeah.
This is where it comes.
All right, everybody. I'd like to call the meeting
to you.
Tuesday, March 8th, 2022. Order. Note that we are all here tonight. Does anybody here for anything that is not on the agenda tonight? All right, welcome. We have no minutes. We got a new lady, so I think we're working on those, so we'll do those next meeting. So consent agenda number 4, tree service PSA. Does everybody understand that? You want to do each one of them, or somebody?
you can go all through them if you want.
Okay. And amendment number 1 to the SCA grant agreement for 4th Street. Everybody clear on that? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
Thank you, Oregon.
We have new staff, and so I'm asking council to authorize credit limits for department heads and for the city manager. They all roll up under one billing statement, so it'd be $17,500 as a total limit for the city. Each department head would have a limit on their cards, and then asking to have authorize the mayor and city manager by title to make changes to the users and limits, or just users, whatever you're more comfortable with, during the personnel handoff, so that we're not dealing with a lot of minutia.
Makes sense.
And we are switching to BEO, so that's why it's on the agenda now. We're going to switch they do our banking, we're going to switch our credit cards to them as well.
All right. So was this different from the consent agenda? I guess I don't have that on my sheet.
Well, I refreshed the agenda several times today. If it's not on, if you hit refresh, it'll be on there.
Refresh? Is that what it's?
Just download the newest.
Or download the newest agenda, or you can just look on here, whatever you do.
Okay. Sorry. So let's do the motion on this first. Oh, this is on the consent agenda too. Okay.
Yes,
So everybody clear on all the consent agenda items then?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda and authorize the city manager and Mayor Lundon to sign it.
Second.
So everybody clear on the consent agenda items, all 3 of them? All right. Favor aye?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, consent agenda items pass unanimous. All right, action item 5, selection of new city councilor. So I think we've all read your applications. Would you like to? I'd like to hear what they have to say. Chris, you want to be first? Sure.
Thank you for the opportunity to address the council. I believe I'm the only candidate for city council who took the time and my effort to run for city council position in the last election. I lost on the coin flip and accepted. I've been appointed, elected, and volunteered to various city, county, and state organizations. I'm very knowledgeable about municipal budgets. I have a very good working relationship with Grant County Judge Scott Myers. I believe the city of John Day needs an experienced and knowledgeable person who is vested in the community and the people you represent to be appointed to this council.
Thanks, Chris. Any questions of Chris? Liz, you're up. Would you like to say something other than what's on your application?
So, thank you for allowing me to be here. And I commend the individuals who have also applied along with me for this position. It's not an easy thing to do. And it shows and I think that's a plus. So, I have been here now, approaching my 4th year as a resident of John Day. I did that by choice. I was not made to. I had options. But like a lot of things that I tackle in my life, I did a considerable amount of research. I talked to people, my trusted confidants. My husband and I, Wayne, came out and visited, and we felt there was a nice match. We felt comfortable in John Day. It was our place of choice to live. I want to tell you a few things that I think are really germane here. Primarily what I'm not in applying for this position and what is motivating me. Putting a little bit more flesh on what you've read in my application. I am not a single issue applicant. I'm not here strongly leaning on any one particular aspect of local governance. Not to say that there aren't some single issues, aspects that are very important. Not to say that at all. But in my background as a federal employee, working with all levels of government, local, state, federal agencies, I just know I have come to realize as truth that governing on any level is just simply complicated. Single issues don't stand alone. There are so many interrelationships between, in this case, hospitals, housing, open spaces, schools, maintaining utilities. I don't know how a person can see that as a single entity that is worthy of really biting their teeth into and lessening other aspects of city government. I just don't believe that. I don't think that serves the citizens of the community well. So that is what I'm not. Now, what I am is a person that comes with some skills that I think would be helpful and add to the complement of skills here at the table. I mentioned that I have worked with all levels of government. It's an environment that I'm very comfortable in. It's an environment where I've been very successful in moving projects forward to completion. An environment where I have developed skills in developing and maintaining partnerships that I found to be critical, largely because no one has all the resources necessary to do everything that's important that needs to be done. And it is just plain smart to pool the limited resources that we all have to ends that serve the citizens well. It's smart. It's beneficial to the entities, whether it's a local entity, a state entity, or a federal entity. So I have a breadth of experience working with agencies at all levels. I have budget experience. I have budget experience tied to projects, and I have budget experiences tied to larger programs that are multifaceted. I have experience with permitting, writing them, administering them. I have experience with contracts. I'm not a contracting officer, and I've never been a contracting officer representative, but I have contributed narrative within contracts. I have been involved in pre-work meetings to make sure that there's clarification of what the deliverables are that are expected. And I also have been very instrumental in on-the-ground inspection. So I know what to look for. I know the questions to ask. I've done that. Public involvement. As a planner, that's what we do. It's fundamental to the development and the implementation of any project. So I have formal training in that arena. I have facilitation skills. I have considerable practice. I have a high level of comfort working with small groups and large groups. I have done that. And I enjoy it. I enjoy the challenge. And I enjoy when we reach agreeable ends. And it has happened, and it can happen. And that is what I find to be really satisfying. So that's some of the flesh on the skill set that I think would be really helpful, bring something to the community that I think will benefit the citizenry. Let's see. So my perspective about John Day is it's not simply a network of roads, downtown business area, houses on either sides of roads, it's not just that. It includes that. But the way I see it and what I value a great deal is that I view the city as a critical, fundamental place of experiences. Experiences that are to be cherished. It's within communities that babies are born and villages emerge to support them from as they enter into adulthood. That village of teachers, family, friends, neighbors, schools, coaches, faith communities. That's what's in a city. That is a community. Within the community are some hardworking adults, some who have chosen to raise families and some who haven't. But they put their head down and they work every day. And they do that not to get by. That's not the goal. People don't work and do that to get by. And I truly believe people don't choose to skate by. What they do on a day-to-day basis, facing some daunting obstacles at times, is they work to achieve their dreams and they work to improve their lives a little bit better, a little bit more each day. That's a community. Also, within the community are the seasoned individuals, the seniors, the folks who have had, just by sheer numbers of their lives, a vast array of experiences, insights, and along with those insights and experiences, wisdom that they're happy to impart to those who are smart enough to listen. That is community. Those are the things that I really value. Those are the things that I look at, and those are the things that I appreciate about John Day, because John Day is my home. And when I came here, winter of 2019, I was very transparent. I expressed to the council at the time that as a new resident, I was interested in contributing. And that's what I intend to do, and that's why I'm here, along the same line. A final note, it was Jacqueline Kennedy, the wife, former First Lady of the United States, who she said, in reference to her husband, that I'm paraphrasing, any person can make a difference, and everyone should try. And so that's why I'm here. In the spirit of trying, I have submitted my application to be considered for the position that's open. And that's what I'd like to say.
Thanks, Liz. Brian, is there anything you'd like to add to your application? Well, first of all, any questions of Liz from the council? Brian, is there anything you'd like to add to your application, Mick?
Ron Hubbard, 409 South Canyon Boulevard. I submitted mine just because, city council is trying to add a bunch of stuff to John Day. We need a bunch of stuff. I ain't gonna lie. We really do. I mean, we got diversified. We gotta kind of keep up with the times. I just want to be here, help with that, kind of like the pool, you know. I support the pool, 100%. Kids need something to do. All the construction going on. I'm good at construction. I may not be the best talker in the world, you know, but I'm pretty smart. I talk to people. I know how to get their attention. That's what's really about it. I just want to be here for my community and, you know, help out any way I can. That's about it.
Thanks, Brian. Any questions, Brian? Okay, Mr. Stouty, is that, Stouty, sorry.
My name's Christopher Stotty. Most of you might know me from the feed store or around town. I was a sergeant in U.S. military, and my big thing was communication. And when I moved to John Day, I moved here for a quiet life, just to sit back, relax, enjoy the scenery. And working at the feed store, I've come to know a lot of you guys. You guys have all expressed opinions about what needs to change, what hasn't changed, and I'm a common sense type of guy. So I feel that if you guys let me on the city council, I will listen, as I always have, to the community and bring it to the city council's attention what's going on in the city. Much as you guys do now, but it's just nice to be out there communicating and expressing what the people actually are saying and want. And, you know, I took an oath many years ago to protect and serve this country, and I hope I can do that when I work with you guys on the city council. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Stouty? Okay. Do we have enough information to make our decision?
I do have one question for Mr. Stouty.
Yes, ma'am.
So on your application, it said that the people need to know the truth.
Yes.
So could you just kind of
I knew that one was going to get me.
give me a broader sense of what you meant by that statement so that I don't take it the wrong way?
Oh, that's fine. I kind of figured it was going to get taken the wrong way. But volunteering and working at the feed store, the people who come and they express their opinions down at the feed store of the city council's covering this up. The city council is not telling us everything that is behind schools, police, whatever we're looking at in our community. And not saying that you guys are hiding anything, but it needs to be, I wouldn't say hidden, but more broadened so that the people understand exactly what they're voting for or signing up for when they see something come in the mail on the ballot mid-election. And we just need to express wholeheartedly what we're doing as a city to the people. So that's what I meant by the people need to know the truth.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so the way we've done this in the past is an oral vote, so unless there's anything you'd like to do different. Okay, is that all right? Okay. So
I would like to say one more thing
Sure.
before we vote. First of all, thank you to all 4 people that are here, because I think it's really important that we have people that are here, that are listening to what we're saying and participating in meetings. When I first started on city council, there was hardly anybody that came to the meetings, and it's nice to see people here that want to be here to hear what we're doing and to get the facts, and to get the information. and hear it from city council and not from, you know, secondary sources. So I just want to say thank you to all four, regardless of who actually is appointed. I appreciate it.
And there are openings on the Budget Committee and the Planning Commission, so if you're not selected here, you might be able to volunteer some other place, so.
And run in November if you're not selected.
I just can't believe there's not more people wanting to do this. We got four, I mean, how big is our town? 2,500 or so? I mean.
1,700.
Yeah. I mean.
They want to complain.
We got 4 people. It just seems they want to complain and not put the foot in.
Well, and then show up here. You know, how many people show up here and ask questions to find out the truth or whatever you want to call it. I think we do a dang good job of providing that. But if you don't know where to look for it or know how to look for it, I think you're going to miss it. So I know there's some truth to that. I do know we can do a better job of bringing people up to date and up, you know, where we're at on all of our projects. I think we've talked about that, but for hiding stuff and keeping stuff secret and stuff, that's just way off base there. We're just not doing that. So anyway, so let's start with Chris. All in favor of Chris, raise your hand, please.
Chris, there's.
Chris Labhart.
Okay.
Right down the list. Well,
okay,
sorry, Chris Labhart first.
Okay.
Right down the list, okay?
Okay.
4 people for Chris. You making a note of this? Okay. Liz Allman. 0 votes for Liz. Brian Hubbard. Elliot. And Mr. Stouty. 1 for Chris. All right. Well, the way I count it, Chris, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
I know you've tried really hard. You've ran. You've applied. You've been selected before, and you've been mayor and city councilor and everything. So anyway, thank you. Would you do this right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Swear 'em in.
Come on up here. Raise your hand. Let's do it.
Don't swear at me.
Let's make it official.
Repeat after me. I,
Chris Laphart,
being first duly sworn on oath,
being duly sworn on oath,
that I will faithfully and honestly discharge the duties of councilor of the city of John Day
I will faithfully discharge the duties of councilor of the city of John Day,
and support the laws and constitution of the state and the United States to the best of my ability.
state of Oregon, and the United States to my ability. Thank you.
Congratulations.
All right.
Seat right there.
So I guess you can sit there, Chris. All right, moving on. Action item 6, police. Is that you, Heather?
That's me and Sam. Step on up, sir. So everyone got the email that was sent February 23rd. The reason we're bringing this to you guys is a decision needs to be made. Like, we either need to say, yes, we're going to pay, no, we can't pay this much, but we can pay this much for this many cops, so that if we're not going to do something, then the county can move forward with doing something, because our community cannot keep going in the route it's going. Like, we are either going to end up having some major deaths, but there was a shooting in Prairie last weekend, and services were rendered, but it was time consuming. Like, I'm over going back and forth. Either we need to say, yes, we'll do it and we'll do this much, or we say no, and the county has to do what they have to do for budget reasons. So that's why it's coming tonight. I'm tired of the back and forth, and I just want a decision made for our community. So, thoughts, ideas, what do you feel comfortable with? What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? Sam's here to answer any questions.
Who wants to go first?
I have I guess a general question. I saw that in the last county court, you guys discussed policing and the previous one before that, but I wasn't able to like I didn't see any like video that I was able to watch, or I wasn't able to like be a part of that discussion or hear what was discussed. Would you guys be able to share what kind of ideas were discussed and where the county was leaning and what's going on?
So I put it on the agenda and brought it last week because I thought city council was on Tuesday. And so I wanted to give an update. You didn't have the meeting, my bad. So I canceled the agenda item when it was there. The previous one was the meeting that we held, the update on submitting the letter and the proposal that you have in front of you.
So I was at that meeting of county court, and basically Jim talked a little bit about Prairie's contract, and I said, well, yeah, 40,000, but the coverage was not nearly what we would be getting with this, so that's kind of far-fetched. But I brought up that, you know, if we don't end up doing something, like the county needs to do something, like there needs to be a county-wide something or other. But I feel like our community wants the coverage that they had before, and so we need to either say, yes, we're going to give them that coverage. No, we can't give them the full coverage. We can afford 2 cops. We can give, I mean, like whatever we got to do, or we need to say no, deal with the repercussions of that and let the county go on and do what the county needs to do. So that's basically the gist of what happened. And then we said that we wanted to have an official letter now that we knew the COPS grant was non-transferable, because we found out like that day or the day before or something before that meeting. So we were all kind of waiting on that too to decide if it was going to be transferred or not, and it's not able to be. I did share with the county that they could apply for their own COPS grant, and that's their choice. So that was kind of the gist. It was a pretty short 10-minute segment just to get the ball rolling, because I'm tired of the back and forth. I just want a decision to be made, and we go with whatever.
So I have a question about, was there ever a response? Did you ever find a response from the attorney?
So I did. I went down and I talked to Ron. I didn't print it off. There was some information on there that was back and forth through the attorney, through the other commissioners, that I didn't feel comfortable releasing without their permission, and I didn't garner that. But I went down. Ron and I talked for about 45 minutes or an hour about it, and then I think kind of at the end, the gist of it was that Ron told me was that the city had gotten a loan from Business Oregon, I believe, for the road project, so it was really kind of a moot point. But the gist of the email that I shared with Ron was our attorneys disagreed on what the money could be spent on, that the county could loan the city money for road projects, and that's when they'd already secured a loan, and so it was really a moot point.
And that was what, we secured the 1.5 from Business Oregon, is that correct, or?
Well, there were 2 different conversations, but
okay.
We got a grant from Business Oregon for the repair of 4th Street, and then we're going to discuss a loan tonight. We're at the final stages of that for the urban, and it's 1.85 million.
Okay.
I'm kind of confused, or want a little clarification. When we were talking generally about the ability for, because I believe that, and I could be misinterpreting what request we were talking about that the attorneys were looking into, but what I recall is that the city went to the county court a long time ago and was asking about investments in road projects, such as, like, one of them I think at that time we were discussing was the project up on Valley View.
Ironwood
Estates, yeah. And at that point we were told that one of the reasons why we weren't given an answer on whether or not the county would do that was a justification of, well, we need to check in with our attorney and find out, can we even spend money on those type of projects within the city of John Day? So is that the same thing we're talking about? Are you saying that, like, you went to your attorneys about that and found out that you cannot spend money on?
That was my interpretation of the email that I shared with the mayor, that we could loan money, we could not just give money. That was the
So
interpretation.
if a city has a road project, you cannot give money to that. You can
Not above and beyond what we already give you, was my understanding from.
Can you guys do in-kind contributions? Can you guys do work? And
I didn't go that deep, Elliot. I don't know.
okay.
I would assume so. I'm assuming we could work together on some of that. Like if you had a grant for a road piece and needed an excavator or a cat or a water truck or whatever. We don't have paving equipment, obviously. We can chip seal, but that was my understanding through our attorney is that we can't just give. We can loan, or we can, and I may be wrong about the in-kind, but I think as just good neighbor, I think if there was something that was needed, we could accommodate if the roadmaster has the time and the wherewithal to be able to do it on your time schedule.
Okay.
And I know in the past, the road department, like, if they're out doing a chip seal on a road and like the city of Monument per se, Monument's covered all the costs, the road department in kind has covered the equipment and the personnel. So, I mean, that does happen. Partnerships are available in our community. We just have to work together as a partnership. So, most definitely there's stuff that we can work together and do. But yeah,
have there been times, have we in the past 5 years, like, made any requests for any kind of in-kind contribution?
I know that the county road department has helped the city personally.
We've helped all the cities. In fact, we give you money. In fact, we're getting ready to give you another chunk of money.
Well, I know that they've had equipment in the river helping with the flooding, like they helped with the bridge. I mean, like, there's been a lot of work with the county and the cities working together, absolutely.
Way more in the past than more recently, I must add.
Can you be,
No blame going any direction, just making a statement that when I worked for the city of John Day and was on the Public Works Department, we worked real closely with the county road department for years on lots of different issues, chip sealing and equipment sharing, and they would do stuff for us. We would go do stuff to help them, and it all flowed really nice. And for whatever reason, it's all been nothing but shambles in the more recent history for whatever reason. I don't know what all the reasons are, but I just know that the cooperation and the willingness hasn't been there like it used to be.
Maybe on both sides.
Let's fix it.
Yeah, that's just it.
Well,
We need to fix
like
it.
I said, I'm not throwing blame any direction. I'm just making a statement.
But yeah, I mean, like, one, management has changed on both sides since then. So, I mean, it probably should be time for.
Yep, roadmasters have changed, county courts have changed, city councils have changed,
Right.
city managers have changed, public works directors
Right.
have changed. It's all been changed.
So it might be a time to refresh and sit down at the table and see if we can partnership for some of this stuff, because they have the means to help us, and they're part of our community. Like, we're part of their community. We're all one. So we need to work together instead of working against each other.
That's your question. Chris, go ahead.
Inland Street, Canyon City, there was a bridge that needed raised up. The county stepped up and said, we'll pay for it. So it kind of gives you an idea, if it's important to the people and it's important to the county. I work with Mr. Myers a lot, and I have very, very good relationships with him. And I think I could.
And I do want to say, I think, like, I've contacted Sam when I wanted to get on council. Like, I feel like we need to bridge this gap, and whatever it takes, we've just got to do it. And the community, Grant County and John Day, deserve us to work together versus against each other, because it's never going to work in a town this size to compete against our own county. It's just not. We're going to keep beating our heads against the wall if we don't just start figuring out how we can work together for what's best for everyone, not just one side or the other.
That ain't just in our government situations, that's private enterprise screwing with us too.
Okay, well, I'm just talking what we can fix with this stuff. Like, that stuff is above and beyond,
And
but.
I think for me, that's how we got here with my conversations with you guys and
Right.
be willing to do this. I think the big picture is the people that suffer is the people we represent.
Absolutely.
And so let's put some stuff behind us and let's move forward and you know, you guys can make your decision and we start budget committee in the next week or two. We'll move forward.
My concern, and I shared this with you, is, and I heard this back when we had a 4-man department, you know, I mean, why are we going to Long Creek on a call? Why are we going to Dayville on a call? Those people have no skin in the game and we go there. If you guys put 2 people in town and the things that happen that you just talked about, the deal in Prairie and the deal in Monument, the people from John Day, which we're paying for, are going to be going to those 2 places. Monument pays nothing for that service that everybody in the county went there to help those people. And then the thing in Prairie. So, you know, when you ask the people who are paying that, you know, and then the argument was, well, they respond to back up John Day. Well, John Day people pay county property taxes too, and that police coverage is included in that. So that's the one rub there. And then the second thing that's really concerns me is, let's say we make a deal with you for $300,000, and then in 1 year, or is it 2 years, we have another bargaining session. And the same thing happens this time that happened last time. And now that 300 isn't enough. You know, do we come back? Do you come back to us? How do we reconcile that? And I was, and no one's really ever said, I did have some informal talks with Todd. I've stated my position from the beginning that I think it should be countywide policing and I think everybody should pay for it. And right now that, you know, not everybody's paying for the coverage they want.
So Scott did touch on that too at our county court meeting. He
Right.
talked about possibility of basically every city pays their calls. So like if Monument has 10 calls that month, they pay for those 10 calls. If we have 175 calls, John Day pays for their calls.
In addition to the money that we would also pay them?
Well, no, if we didn't do this, like
We say we can't give them no money.
Sam was talking, or Scott was talking about like other options, like a ballot or whatever, but he's like, it might just come down to every city pays for their 911 calls. So John Day has 57 calls that month. John Day gets a bill for those 57 calls, and we got to figure out how to pay for it. And Monument, and I mean like Long Creek and all that. So that's a talk of the county, is each city paying their calls or whatever. I mean, and that's nothing official, but that was just part of the conversation that they had at county court too, because that's been brought up, like, why is John Day paying, not everybody else? So that's kind of also part of what was discussed.
So just to elaborate on that, so I have been running our outside sales for a while, and that takes me to Monument, Kimberly, Spray, and ranches and places in between. I have asked, you know, hey, you know, if you don't like the police coverage you get out here, how would you like to pay for it? They don't want to pay for it.
Right.
So there is another problem, that even though the county might have a plan to put it on the ballot, I don't know, you know, if the people are willing to want to pay for what they want. You know what I mean?
We don't yet.
Right.
Yeah,
Sorry?
but it doesn't take all of them. It just takes the majority.
No, but I'm just saying a random sampling of people, Dave. I'm just saying there's not been one. Yeah, I think that's okay. I'll pay my share. I mean, there's not been one of those.
I understand that, Ron, and that's pretty much what the voters around here told us. We don't want to pay any more to keep police protection, because they basically voted it down. And I realize it was a special election and it was a 50-50, you know, it was a plus 50 turnout and yes votes, you know, so a double majority, I guess is the word I was looking for. I understand that, but if it was an important issue and people were really concerned about it, they would have voted. And the campaigns against it actually advertise that a non-vote equals a no vote. So if you don't want to waste your time voting and mailing your ballot in, just don't vote and it equals a no vote. And I mean, it was campaigned that way against it. And so we don't have a clear understanding of what the majority of the citizens of John Day want, because they didn't vote it in. Now, is that because it was a special election? Or did they not show up and vote because they knew that a non-vote equaled a no vote? So that's the confusing part for us as a council, in my opinion. But my opinion is I wanted the police department kept, so I made the effort to vote yes. And so the people that wanted the police department, if they knew it was going to go away, if that ballot or if that measure went down, they made their choice. And I'm not saying that police department going away is a good thing, because it's not. I don't agree that it's a good thing that it went away. But I also don't agree that we should be paying a big lump sum of money to maintain police protection through the county when those same officers are going to be used countywide. So we're paying double what the majority of the people in the county are paying for coverage, because we're paying our normal county taxes and we're paying additional property taxes to the city, which is now in its entirety, if those amounts are that high. So our entire tax base goes to the county for policing that's not guaranteed for John Day. And in that original agreement that we got in January or whenever it was, that original contract that we were sent, it even states in there that there's no guarantee and that the sheriff has sole discretion on how those employees are used. That this is the intent, but it's not a guarantee. So you're not going to guarantee 3 officers patrolling John Day and giving us the coverage that we had before, regardless of whether you give the county $300,000 or $400,000 or $200,000. There's no guarantee that those officers are going to be in John Day patrolling like city police patrolled. And it's not the county's fault, and I'm not saying the county's trying to, cause any problems for anybody. It's just the nature. It's the nature of the agreement. It's their entity. They're in control of it. They're going to use those officers when and where they need them. And we're going to be paying a large portion when the rest of the county is not paying double for that kind of coverage. They're just paying the single regular tax rate. And John Day would be paying a double tax rate for that coverage. And I think that, I guess my other opinion is that I don't want to see our entire tax base being spent that way anymore. Our entire tax base plus state shared revenue, almost in its entirety, has been spent for the last umpteen years. And this isn't a new thing. This isn't a Nick thing. This isn't a us city council thing. This has been going on for years. That they've been scraping and scringing and twisting the budget around and finagling here and finagling there, trying to keep the police department intact. I got nothing against the police department. I thought they were a good asset to John Day. The reality is we can't afford them. And I don't want to see our entire tax base plus our state shared revenue that could be benefiting in other ways this community, all spent and given to the county basically in a double taxation just so we get a little extra coverage. That's how I feel about it. It's got nothing to do with anybody else. That's just how I feel as a citizen even. And I am a citizen of this community. So that's my opinion on it. I don't mind the city contributing to help out with John Day protection if other cities are willing to contribute, if the county's willing to figure out how to raise other revenue to also contribute to the added cost of the extra officers. I don't think we should have to pay the entire cost of extra officers.
Okay.
Because they're not going to be used solely in John Day.
Okay. Point taken.
I agree.
Shannon?
I'm with Dave on that one. I do feel like, I am completely 100% willing to work with the county on public safety for the county. I think it's a mistake for the county to have a contract that says that their officers will spend the majority of their time in John Day, because I think those officers need to be where they're needed. They need to be able to go to Monument if they need to go to Monument. They need to be able to do that. I think trying to get coverage just for individual cities is not going to work. So I think if we work together with the other cities and the city of John Day and the county for public safety for the whole county, and what do we need to provide that coverage, and how coming up with a way to do that the county put forth a plan to do that countywide that doesn't involve just John Day writing a big check. Are we going to need to pay some more for that? I don't know. I mean, there needs to be a plan. I believe the county needs to put together a plan that either is a bond that goes out to our community to see if they want to pay more for coverage, or any variety. I mean, there's different ways that that can be done, I think, at a county level. And I think it needs to be done at a county level for across the board countywide public safety. So I feel the same way.
What about the 911? Would you be for that, paying our share of that?
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to that.
I'm not opposed to that.
So was I right last year that we were told it was like 40 grand?
Well, we weren't told, that's the check we wrote. But yeah.
Check we wrote then.
Now we in the county are the only ones paying per call.
Oh.
Because we have police. Now that that's gone away.
Well, the hospital too weren't they for ambulance?
They had their own rate for ambulance. So you're right. I meant from cities. So if it's going to be redetermined by the Council of Government, then it needs to be redetermined for everyone.
And I agree with that. I'm not against paying that, but I think
and
the cities need it.
Prairie City and Canyon City's tax base combined is larger than ours. So if the expectation is we can pay, they can too. And I'm saying that as a public finance expert.
So here's another question though, when you're asking that question, the people that are not in a city limit, they're not gonna pay extra for a 911 call. Why not? I mean, why would we pay an extra because they're coming into a city, but if you're not.
Well, I guess.
That right.
And maybe I just don't.
And it would remove cost burden from the county's general fund.
Right.
That's what that arrangement does. It reduces the cost the county picks up because they're now paying for John Day's calls in addition to everyone else's. And if there was a discussion about everybody paying for their own calls, we would have a bill, but we would budget for that. And I do think that would be fair.
And don't get me wrong, I don't have a problem working with the county on a solution. I don't have a problem with John Day putting in a share of money to help resolve the situation and the solution. I just don't think we need to pay for the full amount for 2 or 3 full officers. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's fair. But as far as willingness to work with the county and come up with a viable solution for all county residents, not just John Day residents, but I mean, it's an issue that affects all of us, whether you live in the city or not, and paying on a per call basis for 911. Now that we don't have our police department, I don't have a problem with that. And I guess to kind of extend on that a little bit, what you said, Shannon, was we have a large concentrated population. So the likelihood that our large concentrated population is going to have more call outs than the urban areas is, highly likely. And so I don't have a problem helping fund some of the burden of that as far as the city councilor goes. And I wouldn't have a problem with that as a private citizen, just speaking as a private citizen for myself.
But I think,
Go ahead, Sam.
Go ahead, Sam.
that, the majority of the calls besides the county is in John Day. And we discussed that initially when you guys suspended. And then if you're going to not double tax, and then we have to compensate for more officers, then your taxes are gonna go up anyway, or our taxes are gonna go up anyway, which was my understanding of the defeat of the original bond measure that was put forth. What it does is it spreads it out among 7,000 rather than 2,500. So instead of paying $1, you pay 50 cents.
Yeah, or 35 cents or whatever
and
it is.
I think those options, as we move forward with working together, can be discussed and worked on. I think the sheriff had put forth that, you know, they're going to patrol in the higher concentrated areas of John Day, Prairie City, and have that liaison to work with the city council to make sure that happens.
Can I ask a question? Because I'm not sure I followed you. You said taxes will go up anyway?
If there's a bond measure passed for all the counties, the county residents.
Then the electors voted for the service, right? I mean.
Well, I mean, we're looking at an increase.
Okay. I just didn't catch the if a bond passes, taxes will go up anyway.
So I guess what I was trying to say is if we pass it countywide, it's a less of a burden on everybody rather than if it was done solely in the city of John Day. Instead of paying $1 a thousand, you pay 50 cents a thousand across 7,000 people rather than 2,500 people. So it's a less of a burden on everybody, but it's still a burden and a service that people get. So
I would offer, in addition to that, if we get back the 1,000 residents that we've lost in the county, that would be a 15% reduction in our shared costs. Just getting back the people that left.
But we enter into that vicious circle of are people going to come here with no police?
Absolutely.
And stolen cars and gunshots to the face, and
they are. I mean, we're growing.
Stuff. So I mean,
well, but those types of crimes are not a regular occurrence. They have happened over the years.
They've become more regular. We had a gun incident up there. We had a weapon incident in Mount Vernon with a knife. We've had 2 or 3 stolen vehicles. We used to never see that kind of stuff here. I mean, you've been robbed.
I don't know. We had,
and so it's just
one of my employees shot and killed while we had a police department. I mean,
you know, we had a sheriff's deputy shot in the face in Long Creek City. The chief of police got shot in the back with a shotgun. This stuff isn't going away.
I'm definitely not against trying to figure out our public safety issue. I believe that it is an issue. I just feel like I would like to see the county bring a formula together that says, here's how we'd like to solve it countywide, instead of just saying, how much money can you give? That's just a random number. You know, that's where I'm at. I mean, we have, you know, I do think that it's important to reverse the downward trend of our population. I think that's incredibly important and will bring income into everybody. It's going to bring income into the city and the county, and that will help with that issue. That is not a fast fix.
Well, we didn't decline fast either, so.
I just know that our officers can't stay at the level that they're going.
No, we're going to have burnout or death. It's one of the options.
Something bad's going to happen.
Yep.
And
Well, the other thing that was brought up was, you know, we were one of the lowest paid departments in the state, and I hear the county is one of the lowest paid departments in the state. So there are departments that are paying, you know, $2,000 sign-on bonuses, six or more.
Yeah.
And, you know, how can we compete with that? Can we? And, you know, I mean, I'd like to see them do something like we did, you know, go out for a 5-year bond, put a sunset on it, see what happens. You know, I mean, I told you guys that after the vote in August, the next 2 weeks, I probably got a dozen phone calls from people going, hey, you know, I didn't understand. I want to vote again, you know, and you know, $60 a year for 5 years was $300. I think people miss that. And if that was something that could be done for the county,
And I did check into it after the last council meeting, and we can't get on until, the November ballot if we decide to go that direction.
I think this city made a big mistake by putting it out, the double majority vote. I think if it went to a regular vote in the general election, it would have passed.
And I looked at trying to get it.
continue for the
I know,
general.
We still would have closed the department because the money wouldn't have arrived this fiscal
But
year.
that's where you go to the county and say, hey, we need a bridge loan.
Yeah,
But
and I tried to get it on the May, check and see if we get on May, and we can't. It has to be November. Brenda said there's just no way by the time it gets noticed.
Every survey we've done, says they want police, fire, medical, and education in this community. Not necessarily in that order, but I think the people in John Day want police. And it did pass. The majority of people voted, but it was a weird election. And that's.
But I don't think that we can't go backwards and figure out what we should have done or could have done or.
So moving forward, yeah, we need to give the county, no, we're not gonna give you the money. You go back to your table. I mean, whatever you guys wanna do, but we need to give him an answer so he can go back to the table and the county can start making a project. Like, we can't just keep back and forth. So I think what I'm hearing from them is they would like to look at some options for countywide stuff, whether it be pay by phone call, ballot, whatever. So.
But in the meantime, I think we need help with some officers. And
Absolutely.
It's gonna take some time to hire. I just talked to the Union County Sheriff, last week, and it's tough to hire. And if you do hire new, you gotta send them to the academy, which costs a number. And then you're like me, and as a brand new nurse, you know just enough to be dangerous until you get some time under your belt.
Or you use it as a stepping stone to somewhere else. It's more.
Which is what our teachers are doing.
Anyway, I think that's where we sit, and I think Heather and I are in agreement that if we just have an answer, then we can either budget, ballot measures, and the sheriff has told me that he will have one of those officers be a liaison through you guys for your, if you have concerns or you need more, you have issues that are being brought to you, and, you know, I need someone here or down there or do whatever. We all know that the majority of the crime is central here.
So I'll second that. Just to help kind of with this discussion, I'll second what Dave and Shannon have been sharing about how this. I also believe that this needs to come from a countywide approach that doesn't just single out John Day. I would be in support, like Shannon and Dave both have said, that like all of us have actually said that we believe that the city should be contributing to policing. I think it's an expensive service, and I couldn't picture a scenario where the city of John Day doesn't support that, an initiative, and people of John Day or the city itself wouldn't pay more in some way to have policing than you know, just our standalone contribution through our countywide taxes. So I support initiatives that are brought forward, but I also believe it needs to be through the entire county. It shouldn't single out the citizens of John Day to take on that burden.
Well, I don't necessarily know that they're taking on more of the burden. You're already paying for a service here in the city with those dollars. None of the other cities have, I'm just throwing this out there, none of the other cities suspended their police department.
Canyon City did 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And have never paid since.
And Prairie did too.
So that's not a.
And those are the things, I guess, that we need to readdress with those cities.
Absolutely.
For fairness. I mean.
Yeah, so I think.
And getting a service for nothing. And that's what, I guess, that this discussion is telling us. You guys had a police department up until just a couple months ago, and
What percent of the budget for the sheriff's department comes from John Day taxpayers?
I don't know, Chris. I don't know off the top of my head.
I would imagine it's the majority.
Yeah. I can't answer it without.
Oh, yeah, more people.
I think it's really one thing I want to point out is I think it's really evident that like this city council cares immensely about dealing and tackling with this policing issue. I mean, we've talked in our open city council meetings for tens of hours. We've talked with you. I don't know if you've talked more in our, like, come here at our city councils or in county court about this issue. I mean, basically we've been talking about this quite a bit and been happy to be engaged in these discussions. So, I don't see any reason why that wouldn't continue. So if there are proposals that, but I've also heard like a continuous, reiteration from a lot of people that we want to see a proposal that's a countywide proposal that brings more people to the table than just the city council of John Day.
And I'm open to that. I mean, I think this would be a starting point. I do know the sheriff needs help. I know the undersheriff needs help. I know the deputies need help.
The worst part is they'll arrest someone and they're back out on the street the next day.
They are. They arrested the same guy 3 times the other day.
Yeah.
Legit.
Well, and he's claiming he's following the law.
So I just, from me personally, I don't foresee our crime going down.
No.
I see our officers' safety becoming more prominent. In fact, when the undersheriff calls me now, first words out of my mouth is, "Please tell me you didn't shoot somebody." Because they're going to have to be suspended until the investigations are done. And then we're going to be down to 2.
So, Sam, have you gone to any other city councils and talked to this, like the same concern? Have you shared any of this with anyone else?
I haven't talked to Mount Vernon, haven't talked to Prairie.
Well, no, he's talking.
But we're the ones.
So he's talking about.
So he's not gone because no other cities are approaching them saying we want coverage.
And I think those conversations have to happen.
Right.
Yeah, well, I guess the only other question,
and I guess David was, pardon me for interrupting, but before I lose my train of thought, is perhaps we get a county commissioner and a John Day city councilor and a Canyon City city councilor and a Prairie City city councilor and a Mount Vernon city councilor, and we work as a group to do that, and they can talk to their respective communities. I'm open for suggestions. I just know that our citizens and our police officer are all at risk right now.
Could you put together a countywide public safety committee?
Why not? But my hope would be something happens to get done rather than just.
Well, that's just it. We've been 6 months back and forth, and that's why Sam and I both were like, we just got to make a decision. Like, we are beating.
Either you can help or you can't.
Right.
You can help fully or you can help partially or you can't. And we'll budget and we'll do our best for our sheriff and our community as accordingly.
I mean, my whole family is law enforcement. Growing up, I've been nothing but law enforcement my entire life. I am pro law enforcement, and it scares the living shit out of me right now with our 3 guys and our 1 girl.
Potty mouth.
Well, it's true. I mean, it's straight up. It's serious.
Something bad's going to happen.
Something's going to happen. Either A, we're going to lose one, and then we're really out of luck, or somebody's going to die. Like, so there's no more back and forth. Like, we just got to make a decision. No, we can't do this. So they can go and start planning what they need to plan. I am willing to do whatever I need to do. That's why I went to county court, took time off of work. Like, we need to just do something because it's not getting any better. It's just getting worse, and it's going to get real scary real fast because people are going to start taking it into their own hands because they're going to have to.
What's your budget look like for the sheriff this year? Has he put a budget together?
The sheriff has put a budget together.
Does it include a new officer or officers?
His budget includes the entire package without any help.
But I mean,
this is what
more officers.
More officers.
Yes.
Yes.
But that still doesn't. I don't know that the budget committee will pass that.
Right.
I mean, that still has to go through budget committee. But he can't formulate a budget on what ifs. And so, what if the city gives me some, or what if it doesn't?
I'd like to point out that we're in this situation because we've shrunk for 30 years. That's it. That's the only reason. There is no other reason. That's the only one. Costs went up. Population went down. We shrunk. stopped keeping up.
Okay, so
So-
it happened. It happened.
so,
Where,
but-
where were you guys fighting with me when the mills were shutting down? When
Well,
I was,
I wish I was here then, I
And-
really do, but
was fighting for our.
my question, let me finish, please. My question is, what is the county's strategy and plan for addressing population decline? Because I've never heard it. And I've been here 6 years preaching the same gospel, and I've never heard it. So what is the county's plan?
I don't know that the county has a plan.
You're a commissioner, it's your job to have a plan.
I don't know that the county has a plan to bring in,
You're elected to have a plan.
I'm one of three. I get one voice on.
Lead.
I brought things, I've been fighting this with school boards. I've been fighting this with the federal government. I've been fighting this with the state government as a personal citizen for many, many years.
We're investing in 100 new homes, streets, water, sewer. It's on the agenda tonight. I'm recommending the city council borrow $1.85 million so that those projects pencil for the developers and we can have 100 new homes built. County gets 1/5 of the general fund revenue from that property tax. That's our contribution to the root cause of the decline. You have the ability to build roads in the county. Is there a plan from the county to build roads to wrap houses around? And if there's not, why can't you back ours? You get 1/5 of what we create.
I think we could have those discussions.
We've had them. We had them a year and a half ago. I came to the court and presented it myself.
But we have hostile discussions. We don't have friendly
Well,
discussions.
So I wanna
I'm
cover
not
that
a
because
friendly
I look-
person.
Because I look back at that during that meeting that we had in March and the response that we got, and, I mean, I'm rehashing all of this is not really helping.
That's just
us.
it. We're just feeding.
And that's why I didn't
Yeah.
share
Right.
some of that other stuff.
But that was the response I got, was that we're waiting for a response from our attorney over a year ago. I want the county to get serious about, and that you are, I am absolutely appreciative that you've been here and that you're coming on a regular basis, about coming up with a solution that involves everyone in the county. I think it's important, and I'm all for that. That's my vote, is that we be part of the solution with the county, if the county will put something together, and if we need to have a meeting, just like what you talked about, a public safety countywide board, then let's do that and do it fast. I mean, we have meetings all the time where we say, can we meet next week, because it's really important, and we do it. So I think if we ask the other city councils to do that, and they came to the table, and let's try and put something together that helps the entire county, and helps the sheriff's department.
Not opposed to it at all.
Yeah, that would be.
So can we, when's your next county court meeting?
Next week from tomorrow.
Okay. That's school times. Okay, so I can see if I can get a sub, if you can get it on the agenda, so I will bring back because I told them I would come back with what we discussed, and tell them that let's get a plan together, let's do something to get this, like.
I think that if you wanted to do that, Heather, I think it really needs to come, like, from county. I don't think this needs to come from the city of John Day, so.
He can't turn it off.
Taking care of business.
He's taking care of business back
Oh,
there.
yep.
No, what I'm saying is I told the county that after we met, I would come to them and say, no, we can't pay it. We want it to be a county-wide thing. You guys figure it out, come back to us.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not speaking for the council. I went there because I'm just tired of the phone calls that I'm getting saying, what are we doing? It's
Okay.
back and forth for 6 months. So that's why I took it upon myself to reach out to Sam and say, what can we do?
When's your first budget meeting?
Julie has not set it. She sent out, we blocked, I don't know, we blocked out, I want to say the week of the 18th.
Of April?
To start those,
And who serves on the budget committee besides the county court?
Amy
Krieger?
Bob Quinton, and Rob
Stewart.
Same member.
Same, okay.
Borgeson, Amy Borgeson.
Yes.
Still Krieger.
She would appreciate that. So am I hearing a consensus that we probably should make a motion on that, right? I think a consensus would be the
I think the public deserves a motion.
motion. So all or none, is that how I'm hearing it? Let's see what the county has before we decide to contribute anything. Is that what I'm hearing from everybody? Elliot?
Yep.
Chris? Greg?
I'm willing to contribute, so I'm not gonna say that at all, but you guys, yes, the majority is saying that, so.
Well, we're just trying to put together.
Right, I'm just saying.
So.
I don't think anybody's.
Can I propose, you make a motion to surrender the COPS grant and notify DHS?
Yes.
Do not plan to accept it.
Okay.
And that will be sufficient for me to not budget for police in the upcoming budget. But we can put some money in contingency in the event that an agreement is reached in the coming fiscal year, there could be some money available.
Okay.
Yes.
And if somebody just wants to say, so moved, I'll turn that into something.
Very well. Second to that?
Second.
Kelly got the second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
No, I'm fine with getting rid of the COPS grant
Okay.
deal. I'm just not fine with just.
Okay, so unanimous on the
Yep.
grant?
I will put a chunk of money in contingency from the general fund. We'll park it there.
Okay.
It'll come out by resolution of the council when you're ready to move it.
And so please tell me what you want me to go back to court with, that we're gonna wait, try and formulate a committee? Is that?
To do a countywide something.
We're willing to help and we're willing to participate.
Right.
We're just not willing to pay for 2 to 3 officers by ourselves,
Okay, gotcha.
okay? So we're willing to work with you, we're willing to help, we're willing to participate.
So let's put that in a motion.
We just don't want the burden of 2 to 3 officers for ourselves.
Police department.
You want to make that as a motion then, what you just said? Well, I think you just paraphrased what we've been talking about. Either rephrase it or someone else can.
Okay. Yes, I'll make a motion that the city of John Day is willing to work with the county and willing to help and pay their share. They're just not willing to pay for the full cost of 2 to 3 officers on their own.
Everybody clear on that?
Yep.
Greg, got a second.
So does that give you a pretty good idea, Sam?
Let's vote on
All right.
it. Do we need to vote on that?
Just making sure everybody's clear on that. So all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, unanimous on that. Okay, great.
Thank you, Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks
Yes,
for coming.
thank you, Sam.
Thanks
Like I said,
too,
our
for their
bill-
consideration.
And we're willing to put in our share.
We'll be in touch. We'll figure it out. All right. Thank you,
Okay.
guys.
Thanks.
Elliot.
Okay, moving on to action item, come on, computer. Action item 7, Main Street Revitalization Grant. Nick?
This will be fast. Facade improvements, lighting, building access, energy efficiency, business signage. The one I forgot was public art. We had talked about potentially public art. So those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 components, requesting $200,000 from the state. We'll put up 30% as match within the Main Street District. The other 70% we can reserve for the entire area, but also could be included within the Main Street District, depending on the applications that come in. That would, if awarded, give us a pot of $400,000 to invest in downtown that would be available later this year. If the state funds are not awarded, we would still invest the $200,000 that we've set aside. So if that's, if there's a consensus, just need a motion to apply as.
In the same ratio as what you had here for the 70.
I would say if there's no state money in the mix, it's up to us and we just take it as it comes, let Quorum come up with a proposal after working with business owners and see what it presents. And I'm very happy to be able to say that and to say that I'm not the one that has to do it. Excited for him. He starts tomorrow.
Good, I was just going to ask that.
Excited to see his face everywhere, apparently.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think everybody is. So, any more questions on that?
Where's the 30% match coming from?
Kamwachung.
Okay. That's what I thought. I just wanted to confirm.
And if we decided we wanted to use general instead, we've got that too, but it's not a lot of money, but I would say let's start with the Kamwachung dollars and see where we go.
Because that's what the Kamwachung dollars are for.
Right, motion for this?
I'll make a motion to approve city staff to submit the application to the 2022 Oregon Main Street Revitalization Grant.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, passes unanimously. Get that to you. All right, action item 8, pit stop design. Nick,
I know this one has been controversial. I'll just say we are working on parking. We're gonna come back with an oversized vehicle parking strategy that I think will pass unanimously. But for now, I was asked to bring back a design for this space that captured the survey results and the feelings of the very mixed feelings of the respondents. This is what we've come up with. I just need you to affirm, change, deny, and then I'll start pricing and putting contracts together to bring back for the county.
I have a question. Did we
Don't move the restroom. That's
It can't go. No.
did we discuss having hookups for food carts though?
We discussed that
they're there.
utilities are in the ground.
utilities are in there.
Is there these are benches? It looks like under the canopy though. Is that correct?
The benches can move around. They're not fixed. Utilities are along the edge of the.
Because I like the flexibility of being able to have, if there are food trucks that would like to rent the space and utilize it, then having that ability within the structure.
They can use the parking spot too.
They could.
Well, if that's what we wanted, if that's the plan, I mean, I think that's what I'm trying to say is like having a plan.
All those tables are movable, right?
Yeah, and I just looking at this because I start looking at it in detail when we meet. We might need to cut a corner here and angle this back fence. People don't pay attention to property lines when they build stuff in John Day. It's just a fact. And this fence is going to come right up to the front porch.
That's what I was like, wow, that's really close.
It's our property line, but we could, rather than having a tree there, maybe we angle the fence and let them decide if they want to have a tree. Just.
Terry, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just got a couple of questions. Have you had a conversation with the people that live around there at all?
Yes.
And are you planning to have some sort of curfew that thing isn't going to be going and driving all night long?
Well, you have to, it's 10 o'clock unless you get a permit. So, and there's a noise permit that they have to file, just like the fairgrounds does for their concert. So it's 10 o'clock. Don't have any cops sometimes at 10, but we'll have a curfew.
Tia, did you have something you wanted to add?
I don't know your name.
Sherry Reninger.
Sorry.
It's hard to see, but there is a wall with landscaping in front of it to separate the people in the plaza area from those on the sidewalk and street. So it will feel a little bit enclosed.
So is that just like a canopy? You say it's a shaded area?
We'll come back with various designs, but it would be a permanent structure that could handle snow loads, would create some shade. We can adjust angles and depths and heights. But what I wanted to focus on at this stage was just, is this site plan what you want, or do you have changes to the site plan? And then we'll come back with design options and materials.
I like it.
I like it.
Nick, could I ask a question real quick?
Yes.
There's a movement underway to move the totem pole across
I
the
like where
street
you're
from
going.
John Day Hardware. Warm Springs has an office there.
Yeah.
There's a little pole on a piece of property. I don't know if the city owns it or they own it, but it'd be the perfect place for that totem pole.
Yeah.
And then they could put in a
Okay.
nice,
On the
Yep.
totem pole side, it was 2 dump trucks of cement that are in that totem pole hole. So just so you guys are well aware, I spoke to the gentleman who laid the cement in there. It was 2 full cement trucks that filled that hole.
well, I understand the city is going to do some work on that. Is that?
So just so you're all aware,
Gonna sand it and put something on it.
Okay.
yeah, I don't think it's moved.
Go ahead, Shannon.
Thing on that too.
Go
So,
ahead, Shannon, you.
yeah, so I'm concerned about the totem pole because the totem pole in some cultures means more than just a piece of art. And so to just assume that you can put it next to the Warm Springs office because it's a Native American tribe that's not necessarily, maybe is not accurate. I think that we run into, and there's not a connection in our community to the tribes that typically have totem poles. So that's my concern with that, is to not take that into consideration and be very careful about what it's in the spot that it's in
For a reason.
for a reason. I mean, there was a connection there. There was a reason they did it. They brought certain people in to do that. I also can say from a standing it up standpoint, Jeremy had some words about the power lines, about how hard it would be to move that totem pole because of power lines. But mine's more from a cultural standpoint. Those are typically on the coastal region, Alaska, very limited to certain very specific tribes. So to bring that in and use it in John Day, when it might not have any connection to anyone in John Day, might be a mistake.
Well, and it's in the spot it's in because it was pointing to the place where those two gentlemen wanted people to go, if you know the history of it.
Chairman Burke was the one from the Umatilla tribe, and do you think he would want and celebrated that particular totem pole in our community? And he was the chairman of one of the biggest tribes in Eastern Oregon.
I'm just saying that times are different now, and
Well, I know.
that I want.
What do you think he'd think, Chris?
Well, his historian was there. I smoked a peace pipe with him, and I don't know what was in it, but he's not alive anymore. But I agree with Shannon. It's something that we need to do. Cultural historian.
And it's also it's on private property.
Jim Bellinger.
Yeah, Jim Bellinger owns the property, so.
Let's do this. Let's ask Quorum to reach out to some tribal consults.
Okay.
And then we can also have him talk with Jim and some of the other stakeholders in town.
Yes.
I appreciate that if we're gonna have it, it needs to be nice and we need to clean it up and preserve it. And I do agree it can be overlooked, but if there's a reason to keep it where it is, then we ought to consider that. So let's give Quorum more work to do.
I'm happy with that.
I was gonna ask Bennett, you had a good article on that. Did you research that through Margot, or how did you get info on that?
I talked to Margot, or she came in and talked to me. Let's see, I talked to Chris, reached out to the tribes, and I didn't get any callbacks until about half an hour before my press deadline. But I did get a call back from Chief Raymond Burke's son, Chief Gary Burke. He said that the tribe, at least at that time, was fully accepting of the notion of having a totem pole associated with the tribe, even though, as Shannon points out, traditionally that was not a tribe that made totem poles. That's a coastal tribal thing from the Olympic Peninsula on north. Yeah, I don't know if I have a whole lot more to add besides that.
Okay. Well, that was something I asked her to get us, if we were gonna go to the effort to preserve it, and it'd be nice to tell about it more than just what the little plaque there says, so, anyway. I did reach out to her, she got back to me, so.
If council is comfortable with this design, I would come back with pricing, materials, options, and then I'd like to get this in construction. We've got so many contracts moving.
Okay.
Even though fuel costs are high, we'll get some cost savings just awarding more than one thing at a time. We've got Ray going with landscaping already. We could get this thing built for this summer. I'm not going to guarantee an end date, but we could have it open this summer. We could certainly have it finished and operational before the cyclists come in the fall.
Okay.
So I think that should be a target so that we can get people using it and enjoying it.
Okay, let's get a motion on that. Somebody want to make a motion on that?
Make a motion to approve the plan set and authorize the city staff to begin the final design and prepare cost estimates for bids for the construction.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, passes unanimous. All right, action item 9, treatment plan RFP draft, WPCF permit.
Take off your mask for this one.
Hey.
Cue the Rocky soundtrack.
Finally.
I'm a dork. Listen, this is such a hard-fought battle. I'm framing this permit. It's going up on the wall, and under it will be a caption that says, "Never again." I went back and dug into the old city minutes. 1950, the city passed its bonds for the first treatment plant connection cost, new hookups, $1. $1 to connect. It was a beautiful time, the 1950s. The WPCF, Water Pollution Control Facility permit is now live and on the street for global review. Comments are due April 11th. DEQ adjudicated our comments in having the applicant round. I think we struck a good balance. So rather than going line by line through those, they're available to council. I think we've got enough that we could accept it as is. I will review with our team to see if there's anything else we want to comment on further. But what I will say is, at the conclusion of this comment period, once DEQ has adjudicated any comments from the public, this is our permit to operate the new treatment plant. It's cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars and thousands of hours of staff time.
No, it's cost millions of dollars. It's in 4 years, it just cost us $1 million between the public stewardship and the DEQ.
When I was trying to keep positive, yeah, I mean, it's been hard, but we're there. So I can't quite say we can check the box on the permit, but I think by end of April, we will say that we've got a permit to operate the new plant. Included within the permit are parameters for various aspects of the water reuse. So our next phase of this is going to be to start developing that recycled water plan. We can use recycled water from the plant for environmental restoration, agriculture, landscape irrigation, industrial reuse, which would include the mill, and groundwater recharge. That's what's permitted outright in this proposal. If we treat to Class A and eventually end up on an MPDS permit, and that's what DEQ has positioned us for in the event that it becomes necessary, we could also use this water from the treatment plant for surface water augmentation and direct potable reuse. So the state of the art when it comes to wastewater treatment is to view it as one water. And we can have, with our current plant that's in design, the ability with tertiary treatment, meaning we're going to do some end stage purification, we could treat to bottled water quality. I'm not recommending we do that. Drink it. There's no reason to incur that cost. But what I'm pointing out is that this is not your granddaddy's wastewater treatment plant. This is not what we built in 1950. It's a fundamentally different approach. So we've already mapped demands and what that reuse potential is at full scale. I've already talked to the housing developers that are putting in developments that could be connected to the Purple Pipe about having this available for lawn irrigation. We're going to start discussions with the golf course because one of those housing developments is above the golf course. And if we're connecting Purple Pipe and sewer to that development, we have a path to connect reclaim water and give them additional water sources, which I think would be wonderful. It's a great asset. It's not a municipal golf course, but we'd have the ability to help them out, and I think we ought to look at that. So I'm going to spend some time with our team really focusing on the Purple Pipe. I've attached the trunk lines, the east to west distribution system to the agenda. That's the $3 million that OWRD has committed that is going out for bonding this spring. Backtracking to site improvements, the next step on the site itself is for us to start finalizing the alignment for 7th Street. Council's already provided staff with guidelines on this. I just wanted to bring it back for one last look before we start engineering. So what you're looking at here is a curved access that would come off of Patterson at OTEC's southern property line. It would hook back away from the fence line so that we have a nice gradual curve around the edge of ODFW's property. And then it would continue back away from the river. We call this the Elliott Bypass in honor of Councilor Sky, who specifically requested some separation from the river.
No, that's the name.
The Elliott Bypass.
There will be a section of it that's no longer.
We'll put a plaque up with the bench.
Yeah. the Business Park Road will connect at a 90-degree angle with 7th Street. If you were to drive down there today, you'll see a bunch of gravel converging in what looks like a future Charlotte Heights type catastrophe. That would be cleaned up. So we would have angled lots looking in on that Business Park Road connected to an improved timber way. And then the alignment would proceed back toward 7th Street and the current treatment plant. We're going to build from the bookends. So we'll start west, we'll come up to that intersection, and then after the treatment plant is constructed and the new gravity-fed main is into the treatment plant, and all of Valley View Drive and the upper housing developments are coming into that new pathway, then we'll decommission the current treatment plant, demo all of that, it's all in the budget, finish building out, at least roughing in those roads, and then I'm going to come soon, maybe not the next meeting, but possibly the next meeting, with the beginning of a redevelopment strategy for the area around the treatment plant and just on our side of, so just west of Davis Creek. We need to know what we're going to do down there so that when we go to regrade and demo, we're shaping the land appropriately. So that's what we plan to go into design on and then bid as part of the RFP, which I unfortunately didn't have a chance to upload, but it is almost complete. RFP would include the street improvements, the access road up to the treatment plant, all of the reconstruction of the influent lines, and the treatment train itself, which would be the package SBR, the front end screening, grit removal, and back end tertiary if it is recommended by the vendors. Now that they know what targets they have to reach, they can tell us if their package plant with secondary treatment is good enough, or if they're going to recommend tertiary treatment, what those components are. One contract, all those pieces, one team designs it, builds it, trains our team, we take it over for operations. Any questions?
Yeah. Just so I understand the diagram here, where are the current trails being paved in, where we've cut in and where we're talking about paving? Is that represented on this map, or is that separate, totally separate?
So those are hugging the river right now.
Yep.
And we would retain those until any future work happens, which would be years and years down the road. But what they're recommending, because you are creating a lot of space, they're showing sort of a diagonal trail if we want to put it in, that would then reconnect to a trail along the edge of 7th Street, as opposed to doing sidewalk. Sidewalks are harder to maintain, they're more expensive to put in. Trails would be paved trails would be consistent with the rest of the development.
I like that. I like that idea of just having that little, since we have all that space and everything, of being able to have, because everyone's going to, well, a lot of people who use the trail would walk along the river and then be looking for a loop, looking for something to loop back on, and either they're going to walk on the road, or take a sidewalk. Or I like the idea of having that kind of interconnected trail with space in it.
I also like the idea of the walking trails versus the sidewalk. I was going to ask about that because it's a lot cheaper.
They're easy to plow. They're easy to maintain. They hold up better. We do have some on-street parking shown in the plan, and it may make sense to do sidewalk along the on-street parking just so that as you're getting out of your vehicle, you're stepping onto something that's not dirt and mud. And that's what they're showing here. And then over here as well. And that would also give us some opportunity down the road to site a restroom or something, somewhere else in the development. We're already getting interest in people wanting to start acquiring lots. I haven't committed anything yet, but it's exciting to see development interest in this. I think once we have roads roughed in and preliminary plat with lot numbers, I would see a lot of land sales that we could then convert into dollars and cents for the project, that we don't have to take out of grants and loans.
Is that going to be zoned just commercial?
It's already zoned Innovation Gateway.
Okay.
So it's mixed use, light industrial, commercial, recreation.
Okay.
Jeff.
Jeanette Radinovich, business owner in John Day. I live in Training. My question is there a site that people can go to see what land there is for sale by the city of John Day? Because I've had people ask me, I mean, how do you find out about this? Instead of just hearing it's been sold.
Yeah, we've never hired a realtor directly. We're not listing any of it. We have lots up at the Airport Industrial Park still. These will be available. I guess it's up to council. We could put them on a website, or we could hire a broker.
So right now, just individual.
I think if you just advertise them where the public can see that they're available, I don't think we need to spend a lot of money hiring anybody. I think they're gonna sell.
Yeah. We are working on a website for this project, and we could include it in that so that people can see these lots would be fully developed to include reclaimed water, potentially solar energy, and we could put some numbers on them and just see, numbered lots.
Who's gonna do the transactions on the lots?
I have done all of the transactions for the city under the ordinance that was passed earlier this year.
So all the real estate forms and all that stuff was done by you?
Yeah, the attorneys prepared it. We sign and close with land title. They handle all of the assurances.
And we had
It's worked fine.
lot maximum without it coming back to us.
Yeah. I just wondered, we have quite a few realtors in town.
Usually-
That takes a lot of staff time, I would think, to do that, and
It's
lawyer
ac-
time.
It's actually not. Usually when you want a realtor, it's so that whoever hires a realtor can do the due diligence and market the properties. If we're not worried about the marketing, the due diligence has already been done by the city. I mean, we've got clear title. We provide all that documentation and it's
Worked good.
a package.
I agree though that I
Bug.
think it should be publicly out there somewhere, whether it's on the website or whatever, because I've heard that from numerous people that, like, they see stuff going on up at the industrial park and they're like, we didn't even know it was for sale because, once again,
I mean, unless I went with like a Redfin, I can't directly list with MLS, so we would need to contract with a broker to post them. And I don't have a problem with that.
can we not just post like available on our website and then they contact you for what's available? Like like a bullet that flies up there type of a thing?
Yeah, that's what I said. When we do the treatment plant website, we'll have those as a piece.
But you still have places up there still, right?
Yeah.
Or are they all sold?
No,
So that's what I'm saying, even for like the current stuff that we currently have available today, we need a way to get it out so
Just-
people know
Just a picture of the map on the city's website with the
what's available,
Highlight-
highlight or whatever.
highlight the lots available, you know?
I'll give that one to Marlon.
Perfect.
I like this. This is fun.
This is how you delegate.
I know how to delegate. I've just never had
You never had employees.
never had anyone to delegate to.
So yeah, I think that's
Put that one on
that's
Marlon.
important. I definitely think that that's an important thing that we need to add.
And I'll figure out what the sign for Sky Breezeway or Elliott Sky Breezeway or whatever you want to do. I'll figure out.
It's going to be a bench. A bench is all you're
Bench.
going to get.
I'll figure out the bench. That's great.
Right. Okay.
Mouth sold the lots in the industrial park. Okay.
Okay, I get that, Ron, but that's the part of the community stuff that I'm talking about is just a way to be transparent.
Yep.
And I'm getting word of mouth, but there's nothing wrong with just being transparent.
We
are transparent.
We did add 6 feet to the Business Park Road because we anticipate there could be some larger vehicles that are accessing those given the industrial and commercial potential. So that's why that one's a little bit wider, but I don't think it's inconsistent with the overall picture. So just know that that's been programmed to be a little bit wider. And then we're working on the approaches. We really want to, can I say gussy it up? Is that a thing? I think we just need to gussy it up. We want that corner around OTEC to really pop because it's what you're going to see as you're turning into this zone of 7th Street where we're making a $20 million investment. So we're working with OTEC now on a plan that would have parking. Right now it's a gravel lot. This would be paved, improved parking, landscaped. They would work with us to get it so that each of these would have a solar charging station ability. Wouldn't necessarily have to put it in right away. And then you would exit onto the path with landscaping around it, but it would make the entrance look finished at the outset of the project, even though you're turning onto a gravel road, in short order, we'd at least pave and improve that front entrance so that it's not a bumpy, choppy mess. So some lot line adjustments will happen in that zone, as well as the road curves, and then we'll clean up the property lines and move forward with the transaction with Councilor Adair. All that, I'm trying to get everything done by mid-June. And we're on track.
No, you better quit sleeping at night then.
I think my wife will attest I'm there already. We don't have to start that as a new thing. And then I've provided some references. So if the public's interested in reading thousands of pages of preliminary engineering reports, they're there, as are some of the intellectual foundations for this integrated water resources management approach. So you can see the current state of thinking on One Water and reclaimed water usage.
All right. Any other comments on that? All right, moving on.
Sorry, I had to cut out for just a second, but, one of the things I would like to bring up in this topic, involves when Nick is done at city council as city manager, that's coming up really fast. And so we've talked about having him continue to help us in general, with some of our bigger projects. And I think that, I would like to see that discussed and made official if we're going to do that, if we're going to keep him on as a consultant, what we want to do with that, because I think that with our partners, our financial partners, if you look at all the people that are looking at projects that we have, I think they need to feel confident that we're going to continue to move forward, and not have a gap. I mean, we've worked too hard to get to this point, and so I would like to look at having him continue as a consultant in some form and do that officially, so that we have no gap. If that's
Do you think a consultant for, like, generally, like, to set up a contract to be a consultant for the city, or to have specific projects picked out and determined ahead of time that we...
I talked to Jeremy Green, our attorney. I'd spoken to the members of the admin committee. We would need to sign a conflict of interest waiver initially, but it would be similar to what the city did with Anna Bass when she left as the city recorder and went as private, and then came back as a contractor to do. She's on retainer. I mean, we pay a flat monthly rate. She's available when and how we need her, and she does a variety of financial functions for the city. I would recommend something similar just for continuity on the treatment plant and the grant-funded projects. We've got EDA broadband that's going to be announced. Not even kidding, it's actually going to be announced. We've made it through legal review. It's back in the Seattle office for award. That's a $2 million broadband build. I mean, nobody cares anymore, right? It's been a year and a half. But that will be good. That's going into construction. We've got the treatment plant going into construction. We've got 4th Street going into construction. 395 South Sidewalk is going into construction. Kamwachung going into construction. Pool to be determined based on the ballot. But those 6 capital improvement projects are $25 million. I have other clients. I am starting a consulting firm, but I would be willing to continue in some manner until the city feels that you've got it. I'm not depending on it by any means, but I'm still going to live here.
That conflict, what does that state?
I'm not going to award a contract or have you award a contract to me while I'm still the city manager. I think that the attorneys need to be the ones that discuss that with the council, not me. But I am willing to do it if it's something that you want to explore with the attorneys, so that we don't lose momentum as we move from
I think
me to the new guy.
Because I think our people that are financing our projects are going to start asking, like, what's going to happen with this project?
Well, they already are.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that's really important. I think that's been, I think Nick's expertise and understanding and connections and ability to maintain momentum is critical for this, and I think it would be a mistake to, I guess, essentially
So would that be
all
done
that information.
with the attorney in executive session, or how would that be done?
No, it would just be done by the attorney with you, discussing terms with him.
Well, when we go out for a bid to make it fair and equal, we need to go out for bids and see what other consultants have to offer.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want to even have this conversation with council. I want Jeremy Green to have the conversation with the council.
So in this meeting, we could ask.
Yeah, let's just get off of it.
Well, no, it's okay. I mean, I need to set it up.
I want to ask that we ask Jeremy for a meeting. I mean, that's what I would want to ask for in this meeting. That's what I was getting at, is how do we move forward on this, because we need to.
I think that's really smart that you're bringing it up. I've been thinking about it, but I appreciate you just bringing it up and bringing it to attention. Let's just move forward with looking into it more and see if it's something we want to.
Well, I've asked Jeremy and in the past, and he's got the John Day's best interest at heart. So
cool.
I think we'll work something out. It's beneficial to everybody. So, cool. And it's going to be beneficial to Nick. I mean, it's going to look good in his hat to have $25 million projects completed and finished that he started. So I think there's some merit to that.
I just really want to see the treatment plant operational. I don't know. That has become personal for me.
Well, you and me both.
It's only been 25 years in the process.
Yeah.
All right. Any more discussion on that?
So you'll get a hold of the attorney and have that maybe on next time's agenda?
I'm tired. Did you make a motion or was it just a consensus?
A consensus to get a hold of the attorney and to process.
I'll have Jeremy reach out and set up time with the admin committee to talk about it.
Okay. Okay, thanks. All right, action item 10.
When you say admin committee, who is that?
Me, Dave Shannon.
And then they can discuss it and bring it to the council for further review.
Okay.
We have an interesting opportunity. I want to talk about it at the next meeting because I couldn't get pricing. There's an old World War II bridge. Every once in a while people are like, hey, would you like to buy this bridge? And there happens to be an old World War II bridge that looks kind of cool and I think would fit the Oregon Pine site really well. It's something that could be installed with very minimal effort, and it was actually designed to be ported into an operational theater and installed over random rivers and gullies. But it's got enough length that it could be permanently placed at Oregon Pine, and we could take that old rail car and either sell it for scrap or use it some other thing. So I didn't get a chance to get pricing back, but Joe Hitz, our engineer, sent it to us, and Aaron and I were looking at it. I was like, well, it's got character. It's a very interesting look. So if you're all right, I'd like to bring that to the next meeting and just show it to you, and then also show, what we paid for the more very traditional bridge that we have down at Hill Park, what it would cost to rehab the current one. Our only concern with that is available labor in the county. It's a big project to take on. It's a lot more work than it looks, and we don't have a lot of people lined out to spend a month or two fixing it. So I just want to show options and then let you guys decide. We need to make a decision because we've got to co-locate our broadband and our reclaimed water and our sewer lines on the bridge. So it is something we'll want to get going on this year.
Sounds good.
Okay. Okay, action item 11, R3 strategy update.
Shannon and I are going to be meeting with the other city managers and city councilors that were appointed tomorrow. All the cities wanted to take a little bit more time to educate the public and talk through what is the thing we're proposing to do. I'll share my perspective. I think a big need for all three cities is housing. And if you're not building housing at scale, then you're going to keep falling further behind. We're aging and dying faster than new babies are being born. If we're not adding neighborhoods, we're not going to keep up. Just math. People, especially people that are critical of that approach, are not building housing at scale and don't know anything about it. If you're trying to build a subdivision and make it pencil, then you know it doesn't. You can't do it to city standard and come out money ahead. The costs are just too high. So the idea, at least in my mind behind R3, was create that central clearinghouse where one agency can take you from, I have an idea and I have some land, to people are living in houses. And all of the due diligence and the land acquisition and the permitting that goes along with that to make sure it's warm, safe, dry, meets the needs of the market, doesn't price out residents, all that kind of stuff. So we have a lot of questions in there that are in that vein. I'll defer to the council if you want to talk about it more, but the other cities wanted more time, so I did not bring it back for any kind of a decision.
So the only thing I thought about after like reviewing some of it is if a contract is ever talked about or whatever, having some kind of clause in there that say something starts happening and either we don't like the route it's going or whatever, like some way somehow to get out of it if it's not going in the direction we wanted originally, or whatever, management's change and people can't see eye to eye because that happens sometimes. So just like a clause of some sort that like we can check out if things happen because.
And that is in there.
Okay.
There is an exit clause. The only issue was so that you don't create financial harm to the other parties. Your fiscal year buy-in is essentially locked and you have to give 6 months notice.
Okay.
So you wouldn't just be like, okay, I'm out. It'd be, hey, this is our last year as a member. We're leaving in July, kind of a thing. But that language is in there. We'll make sure that's very clear.
Okay.
Again, there's no guarantee this works. I'm just recognizing as a city manager who's dual-hatted as a city planning official, it's hard to be responsive to our customers who come and say, I'd like to build a neighborhood. What do I do? And you're like, wow, okay, here's where we start. And you're educating them. We don't have big companies coming in and saying, I want to build 200 homes. And then occasionally you get the ones that are like, hey, I've already built a neighborhood and I'd just like to have it permitted after the fact. And so that creates some work too. So anyway, that was my idea behind R3. And then of course, with all the public infrastructure dollars that are moving, an agency that has the ability to go out and secure those funds regionally would be value added for all three cities.
By the way, they've not got a permit yet, so just bring you up to speed on that, so.
Just on that note, and not to veer too far off topic, comprehensive plan requires annexation, consent to annex in exchange for utility hookups. Our 2011 agreement with the county required that any land partition, land development in the urban growth area be reviewed by the city and that they consent to annexation before a development application is approved. That's the way I've managed it the entire time. The only exceptions have been land partitions in certain instances where it was like, what are we really doing here? I mean, it's already a giant mess and there's really no way to untangle it. Just want to make sure council's still consistent that that is the city's policy. It hasn't changed in any ordinances. It hasn't changed in any resolutions. It hasn't changed in my practices. Unless you instruct me otherwise to come back with a bunch of code amendments, we require a consent to annexation before we hook anyone up to our utility system. That runs with the land, along with the consent to pay system development charges in exchange for hooking up. That's how we pay for our system. Yay? Yeah?
Yeah, no, we're all for that. We're all for that.
Good.
I'm gonna bring up Screech Alley again. Dee, keep brought it up, so.
When those, I just want to be consistent so that people aren't saying, well, you hooked up Jimmy, but you didn't hook up me.
Okay.
Not hooking up anybody until you sign a consent to annexation and you agree to pay the system development charges. That's what the ordinance requires. That's the way we're doing it.
So does that mean
I'm just telling them, you said that's the way we're doing it.
No, I agree with that.
I didn't ask those.
The other comment was, so back to Screech Alley. So if we get, there's money out there to apply for, to put a main line in. Does that mean they have to annex before we put a main line in? So if they do get denied a permit, they can hook up to our main line and annex.
And I'll point back to, I'm gonna answer your question, but I'll point back to R3 as an approach. We can do pre-development financing. We can go out and get grants and loans for that infrastructure, including through DEQ. We can help them put local improvement districts together so that they're not sucking that whole egg up front. There's a ton of creative financing options to make that cost cheaper than the cost to replace a septic tank, which DEQ won't approve anyway.
Right.
And for new developments,
Well, didn't she say there's some money too?
yeah, that's what we're talking about. There's money, right? So for new developments where we only have to run 1,500 linear feet of pipe to connect them to our sewer system, I don't want to tell 10 property owners, go build a septic tank, and 5 years later we're coming with sewer and you're going to be required to connect. The septic tank's $10,000-$15,000 each.
Just to let you put one in.
Well, I'm just talking about the tank. So let's just work a LID option where we provide the financing. It's not on the developer at that point. It's on the person that buys the property, but they're still coming out money ahead over putting in septic. So I guess what I'm saying is let's just stick to our game plan of connecting new developments to city standards, even in the UGB.
Okay, I agree. Everybody agree on that? Consensus? All right. So moving on, other business, upcoming meetings. Looks like there's an LOC training on March 30th and 31st.
I'd strongly recommend you register for the budget training. We get a discount if we get more than 6. I know many of you already know how to do it, but they are going to talk about best practices and updated regulations. It will be worthwhile. Anyway, links there if you want to.
Okay. And then looks like city manager recruitment's been posted.
Has been posted. We've had three applicants.
Really? Wow.
On the gamut.
Wow.
Be an interesting screen, but we are getting some interest.
So this is something that I was going to add to the agenda tonight. The city manager review, some delay. I was gone the first part of January, and then there was some delay. Guys getting the information back to me. Some still have not, but I figured it in anyway. So again, like I do this, I put a number on each column and divide it out. Just kind of run down through it.
And we don't, it doesn't need to be done in executive session.
No.
Only if he wants it to be done in executive session. So basically, in strategy and leadership, he got 3.2 to 3.5 out of 4. Operations, anywhere from a 2.25 to 3.2. Basically, the 2.25 was working through others delegating, 2.8 on managing work processes. Financial management, all 3.2, 3.5s. Personal, interpersonal skills, that kind of ran a gambit there, 2.25 to 3.5. So 2.8 on conflict management, 2.5 on managing diverse relationships, 2.5 on being open and receptive, and 2.25 on balancing work and life. So, and he also got some 3.5s on being organizational savvy and inspiring others and acting with honor and character. So there's definitely different views on the council. I can tell that by putting this all together, but I think for the most part, I averaged all this out and it came to 3.07, so that was meets and recommended to rehire. Comments, good at grading grants and putting projects together, gave us good ideas, best thing to happen to John Day since the 50s. Areas for improvement, communicating and working with some people, communicating and working with some government organizations, more work-life balance, delegate more, and listen to the community more. So I think those were comments that he's heard throughout the last couple of reviews. So good job. So I wish it meant more, but
well, I'm looking forward to heckling the council and the new city manager a little bit. From
You can sit out there and see
I'm
what
going
it's
to.
like.
I'm going to be like, what are you thinking? Okay.
hey, next meeting, March 22nd here, then April 12th. Looks like the first budget meeting is April 19th.
As a reminder, I'm going to be absent on the next meeting. I'll be out of town.
Okay.
With full staff happening? Have we rediscussed opening back up 5 days a week?
Yeah, Tia's got something to say on that.
Friday. Perfect. I love it.
Right.
You're the bestest. Thank you.
We are still training,
Yeah.
so not going to be a full complement of services, but we are open.
But when people call me, I can say, yes, they're open. Go on down. Okay. I do my best. Okay, perfect. That's what I want to hear.
Okay, nothing else for the council tonight. Entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Oh, wait a minute. What about town hall now that face masks are going bye-bye and COVID disappeared on the 11:59 on the 11th? We need to schedule a town hall.
I want to do an open house instead of a town hall.
Whatever. I don't care what we do. Like, we need to do something.
What's the difference?
Open house, I'd like to see it run like, they come in and they can see the projects that we're working on and we can answer the questions. We're available to answer questions of the community. I think it will bring in positive and negative. It'll be a more positive
So
environment.
mingling type atmosphere rather than in the front of everybody?
Yep.
Yeah, I think we should even have some refreshments and.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause COVID's gone.
Right. So I say we have an open house. We did it.
I wouldn't leave it tonight. God, 3 days to go and everybody's masked up.
Could we do it with the county down at the fairground? And the reason I'm asking is they got $2 million from the state legislature this session for the Grant County Fairground.
Oh.
Just like we got $2 million 2 years ago for the pool.
Could we add Kamwachung?
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they're going to be very positive investments in our community. And I would love to,
Together?
we worked with the county.
Tomorrow?
We worked with the county on a very good plan that just lacked funding. I don't know how much of that plan I don't know what their plan is, but I think the community ought to see collectively what we did together and see the $5 million Kamwachung and the $6 million pool and the $2 million fairground upgrade and the $15 million treatment plant, and it's pretty cool.
When are they gonna start destructing the pool?
If
you wouldn't throw me in jail, I'm gonna start.
SHPO asked me to provide additional context on the history of Gleason, and I'm doing that now. So there was some miscommunication, and they thought that the Parks District was organized to operate Gleason Pool. They didn't realize that the Parks District didn't come along until about 20 plus years later. So I wanted to go through, and I actually spent today going through the old minutes and ordinances from City Council. So I'm going to be able to document who the first pool manager was, who the first city councilor was designated to oversee the pool, the cost of the pool build, which was about $75,000, equivalent to $750,000 today.
Wow.
Operating budget first year was about $5,000. So I've put all that together. I've got pictures of the historic Chinatown before the pool was constructed.
Wow.
They just want that, and then I also found all of the original documents. So the original plan set, the O&M manual from the 1950s. So what we'll probably do is encapsulate that, and maybe some of it gets blown up and put onto some kind of art that goes into the new pool. And that way we've memorialized the facility. What SHPO wrestles with is the historicity of Gleason as an old pool more or less important than the historicity of the broader Chinese site? And if you really look at it, they're one and the same. It was Bob Wah, who was apprenticing at the Kamwachung Mercantile Store and Clinic, who donated the land to the city to build the pool and to create a park around that store after it closed. So it was our Chinese heritage that led to the creation of Gleason in the first place. I think it's completely consistent and congruous with that heritage to go back and re-honor that Chinese culture and those first settlers in the valley while building another new pool within walking distance that also reflects that along Canton Street with the improvements that we've discussed. So I think we just need to show that picture to SHPO so they understand we're not giving up the history of Gleason Pool. We're recognizing this is the next evolution in what has been a century of adaptation that started with a bunch of rugged settlers in the valley, and we've still got a bunch of rugged settlers in the valley.
Easy.
You've been writing this, haven't you?
I've been writing this. So anyway, this will.
So I also will be gone March 26th. That is spring break, so I will not be here for.
No, you don't get to go on vacation.
I'm going.
You expect all of us to drop everything when you...
All right, let's move on.
Oh, no.
How many meetings have you been to, and how many have I been to?
Motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Conde Council meeting is adjourned. 9:04.
Yeah, it's 8 o'clock.
I'd like to call the UA board meeting to order. Note that we are all here. No minutes, no consent agenda. Action item 5, URA loan application. Nick.
So I've given council, what I'm proposing is a distribution of funds toward the infrastructure we're going to own. We're not paying for housing. This funding will go to water lines, sewer lines, conduit for broadband, conduit for power, city streets. It's just enough to make the projects pencil, and it will lead to, now Holmstrom Ranch obviously is only 4 lots, but it's a tremendous amount of right-of-way, all the way down to the river. The Ironwood Estates is 17 lots in phase 2. They're ready to go into construction. The Ridge is already doing site improvements. What I would like to do is submit the application, which is attached to the agenda. It describes these developments. I'm going to pull them up for the council so that you can see
While you're
them.
doing that, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Where did they come up with the figures?
Joe Hitz did all of the figures.
I'm just trying to, did you see demob and move in costs? Doesn't matter, I'm just asking.
Yeah. I mean, he does the MOB as a percentage of the total project. It may come in less, and if it comes in less, then good. Better for everybody. So what this will do at the Ridge is it will build the approach from Highway 26 all the way up into the development, and then depending on how much gas is in the tank, they could hook it around and keep going. But at a minimum, it gets past these initial lots where the 3D printed homes will go. So out of the gate, we'll see 12 dwelling units at this site. So that's the Ridge. In the Ironwood Estates plan set, you've seen this before, really nothing new here. We will update the names. That's now Aldrich View. But these are the numbered lots that would be created with this first tranche of funding. And then with East Charlotte Heights and Holmstrom, which is quite an undertaking, but we've been at it since November. And by we, I mean Tidewater and Public Works, not me. 4 proposed lots. I don't know if you've been up or seen it, but they've already trenched in the sewer.
Yeah, it's looking good.
It's looking really good. We got manholes set,
There's lots of equipment and stuff going on.
tons of activity. I'm sure the neighbors are going to be very happy when we're not up there anymore.
I would love it.
They're bringing it up to grade now and getting it ready to be paved. We've got the 4 lots with utility hookups, and we're ready to go to development agreement and final approval on this one.
From that part is development agreement, final approval. Like, so I didn't know we were going to be paving down to 7th Street. Is that on the table now?
We're going to pave up to Holmstrom, or Charlotte Heights becomes Holmstrom Road.
Uh-huh.
Everything else will be widened and up and gravelled.
Okay.
But we'll pave down to the end of East Charlotte.
Can I throw one question in there?
Yeah.
Just because I've looked at this, I was up there, walked down, had a couple people asking about it, were residents up there. And this is one of those questions where I feel like I'm sure this is worked into the plan, but I just want to voice it. That like creek, that's like a seasonal creek, that is, yeah.
It never gets over.
Right through there. Well, yeah, I've heard residents complain that or say that it has, and would just worry, is it going to wash out the road? Does it have a diversion track? Is that being considered?
Already has one in place. When Dave Holstrom put that bypass road in there in order to sell the lower 3 lots.
Like a culvert or what?
No, he diverted it, back up the canyon a little bit with a ditch line that he dug with his excavator. And it runs around the hillside where you can't see it, and it dumps out into his meadow and runs down into the irrigation ditch.
And that hasn't been, do we know if that's been changed by the restructuring of the road, or if that's still?
No, that's still
pushing the same way. Okay.
Yeah.
I will be making a trip down the street to talk to the school board. We're clipping their property by a couple of feet. Don't think they're going to worry too much about that, but it's not the road. It's just in the right of way. And then as we looked at the deeds, I thought the end of 7th Street where it transitioned to gravel was part of Holmstrom's property. That portion up to where it goes north-south is actually on the school district. So again, we would be paving and improving a road to a playground along school district property in exchange for the right-of-way dedication. We already have access easements. It's a road. I don't anticipate any pushback. But those pieces are highlighted in red because I've got to actually go to them for that. Everything else will be done with the Holmstroms. So that one is designed in construction, almost finished. What I am going to ask council to consider tonight is to let me go ahead and place the orders for the pipe. We've already got everything stockpiled for Holmstrom and East Charlotte. I'd like to place the order for the other 2 developments. That would be deducted from what would have otherwise been a cash contribution. Costs are going up. I don't want to wait.
They're going up fast.
They're going up fast. So I put the pricing in here, the estimate for these developments as shown. And we've reviewed these with the developers. All in, we're looking at $218,378.23. Those are the bid prices. If you authorize me to, I'll get all of that ordered tonight. We'll submit the application. We should have funding in the bank within a couple of weeks of submitting it, and then we'll just reimburse ourselves. I need a motion. This is above my pay grade by a factor
And this
of
is
10.
only for the Ridge and Ironwood, not for Holmstrom's.
Holmstrom's, we've already acquired everything.
Okay.
It's stockpiled already. That was part of the Tidewater contract.
Just the ones in yellow?
No, I don't know why that's highlighted. $218,378.23 plus or minus the price changes that probably happened since they dried up.
10 minutes ago.
I can adjust 10%, so we should be fine there if you want to make a motion to that effect. And I'll take a so moved on this one if that's good.
I was just looking at Dave. He's
10.
thinking hard. I was thinking.
You always look at me.
Well, you got it. You're concise.
Always waiting for me to do it. I'll make a motion to allow the city manager to authorize the purchase of the needed pipe for the infrastructure on the Ridge subdevelopment and the Ironwood subdevelopment.
Second.
I got a question. When you say pipe, that means all this headings and stuff to go with the pipe, right?
Everything but the manholes. We'll price those and ship those separately. So the big concrete manholes will come in later, but we'll get all the pipe stockpiled and stored.
Okay, all the plumbing supplies necessary. How's that?
All right.
Plumbing supplies.
You got the first and the second on that? All right, all in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, passes you. Good luck with that.
Thanks. And then just approval to submit the loan application for the 1.85 million or 825, and then we'll get that
Need a little finesse.
submitted.
Okay, question. I know the loan's to be paid back in the long run with the tax increments. In the event that only 1 or 2 houses get built in the next 4 or 5 years because we don't have contractors to build them or whatever the situation may be, prices go too high and people want to wait. Is the increase in just the tax on the lots sufficient to pay the loan debt on a yearly basis?
Good question. Answer is no. That said, if we do need to do an interfund loan to cover payments, we've got a couple of options with Business Oregon. The first one, which I would execute, is they typically give you 3 years to complete a project, which might mean the last piece of pipe goes in the ground 3 years to the day, and then you don't start making payments until 2025 on any of the debt. That would help, because that would buy us some time.
But are you still paying interest up to that point?
Nope. You don't charge interest until you finish the project. The other technique would be, because this is infrastructure funding, we can do an interfund loan from our enterprise accounts, water and sewer, as opposed to trying to tap into general fund. So the water fund would loan to the water cost, the sewer fund would loan to the sewer cost, and then we would just amortize those in the enterprise fund so that we can make the payments to Business Oregon. And I ran the numbers. I did a very modest estimate, which is that no housing gets built until 2025, at which point we build 5 houses a year, and this is across 44 lots. So basically, we keep doing what we're already doing. We just have land available, so we stay at the current pace. In the first 3 years, we're subsidizing. After that, the tax base has caught up, and we're in the black. And the subsidy in year 1, which would be that fiscal year 25, would be $33,000. Again, could be loaned from water, sewer. In year 6, it's $20,000. In year 7, I'm sorry, FY27, year 3 would be $7,200. And then from that point forward, tax base is caught up.
Well, couldn't it also be paid with SDC money?
It can.
Since it's system expansion?
It can. I had a different plan for that money.
Okay. I'm asking questions.
No, these are good questions. Does council want to resubmit Timberway as our SCA application for this year? If so, $100,000 would come from ODOT for streets. Our SCA money that we've booked would go into that water and sewer line. So we have the opportunity this spring to submit a small city allotment. I said SCA, SDC money. So we have a small city allotment grant coming up. We could use our system development charge revenues that have already been booked, plus ODOT's money on the streets, to pave Timberway and improve that down to Patterson.
And that's the part coming off Ironwood?
Coming off Ironwood and going down to the Forest Service building. That's what we were going to, well, we did apply for it last year, but because we had 2 and one wasn't finished yet. If you have a different project in mind, somebody else is going to have to write that application because I'm not going to have time. But we could update the dates, update the pricing, and submit that one again.
I'm on that committee, so.
No, as long as, like I said, as long as we have a plan to cover it until houses are built, like, because I know houses will be built,
and
like they did on Ironwood. And
I can show you, like, worst case scenario, no more houses are built.
When's the 3D printer supposed to be here?
This spring, the late spring, early summer. So this is like, for whatever reason, we built 44 lots and not one person built a house on them. We're covering $47,000 a year.
Money payments.
On the payments. It's money, but it's not like, oh my gosh, how am I going to come up with $47,000 across 3 different funds?
Well, the savings in our power bills are going to help offset some of that.
Well, and we're selling land. I mean, we're still selling land at the Airport Industrial Park. That's going back into water and sewer. So I wouldn't be recommending this if I was worried at all about it. I think what's going to happen is we're going to go 10.
Yes.
10. Yeah, 10. We got to create more space because we're making too much money. This is the point, right? This is the math behind growth and housing development. You start raking in cash year after year after year because property taxes, the sewer revenues, they compound. Because we haven't been doing that, we're being shellacked, but the math works if you're building and growing. And I'm not even showing state shared revenue. That goes up too.
I like it.
Okay.
Good job. That was helpful in seeing that.
That was actually really helpful to see the worst case scenario, honestly. Like, this is a really big investment and it feels like it's a humongous risk, but it's not. I mean, everything's a risk. Any change, anything you invest in, if it wasn't a risk, someone else would have done it. But that's good to see. I'm glad you asked that, Dave. Kind of looking at what those different realistic, worst case, best case, scenarios actually would mean for us.
All right. Anything else? URA.
Well, I need a motion to submit the application.
Oh, no, sorry.
Mayor and I sign the documents, and then I've got one more topic to cover very briefly.
Okay. Motion on the
I'll make a motion.
SBA.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the loan application as submitted and authorize Mayor Lundbaum and City Manager to sign and submit the application on behalf of the city.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, passes unanimous.
We're still courting funds statewide. We're moving into the final round of what's called the Missing Middle Housing Fund grant competition. This is a joint application we submitted with Burns Lakeview, and it included 3 components. One was the 3D technology for printing various components of the homes up to and including all of the structural components. The other was housing finance. I've been working with the Federal Reserve Bank in San Francisco and Oregon Treasury and DLCD and Representative Marsh and a handful of other stakeholders statewide. This is the one I mentioned. I'm the only city manager in the state in these committees talking about how we go from 15,000 units a year to 30. It's not going to be easy. We're too bureaucratic. We're not set up to streamline applications and permits and entitlements, and so we're working through creative housing options. They want to look at adopting the URA approach in John Day. That's part of the reason why I'm on the committee. I keep pushing rural renewal. It's a thing. It needs to be a thing. We're too boxed in. And then on the capacity building, that's the other subcommittee that I was asked to be a part of. We're looking at current legislation and future legislation to create more streamlined partnerships. The example of pre-development financing is if, for example, let's take something like an R3. If they become an ombudsman for state dollars, state drops $2 million, $3 million, $10 million into the agency. The agency can then deploy that capital to projects throughout its service area without each project having to apply to 4 different lenders to build a capital stack for their projects. It's tough for some of these developments to go to a bank and say, I'd like a construction loan for $2 million to build 3 miles of street, and the bank goes, hey, what if nobody comes? I'm not going to lend on that, or I need 7% interest. And then the developer starts doing the math and going, this isn't going to work. We can drop that to 1% to 2%. We could take the risk. It's grant dollars. It's infrastructure that's owned by public agencies. At the end of the day, that's what we be financing. Streamline the whole thing and start getting housing that's quality, that's consistent with the neighborhoods, that's the type of housing approved by the local jurisdictions. We just effectively become a really good financial partner. So we're working on those 2 components, and this housing innovation partnership at the state level, coupled with workforce missing middle housing fund, could bring some more capital to our area.
Interesting. When did that come up? That been in the process?
I've just been working it in the background, but it's starting to gain traction because of the wildfires and costs of materials.
Stay on that board?
I'll stay on it, yeah.
Did you figure out how to clone and didn't tell anybody?
This is what I do for fun. No, this is a good group. I think they're actually committed to doing real work, not just sitting around talking about it. I think some good things are going to come out of these programs. And I'm the one that's pushing for big chunks of money to just land in local jurisdictions and let us, I mean, it was the same proposal we just made to the county a year and a half ago. We just need capital finance to get them into construction, let the market respond. But right now, if you got a piece of land that's developed, you got a house on it, or in construction. I'm very bullish on our market. I think if we open this land up, people are going to start building, and that's jobs for contractors and it's tax revenue for our agencies. We need it. Okay, it's late. I'm sorry. That's it.
Okay.
Got you in your head. All right. So if nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to go home.
Make a motion in the URA meeting.
Dave got the first one, Shannon got the second one. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, guys.